I am thrilled to introduce our first speaker, Ernest A. Tuckett, co-founder of the Black General Counsel 2025 initiative and Vice President, Associate General Counsel of VeriSign, Inc. Like many in-house counsels, Ernest started his legal career in big law before transitioning in-house, first in positions of increasing responsibility with DuPont, including General Counsel of DuPont Canada, then as General Counsel Americas at AkzoNobel. During this time, he was an active ACC member in several chapters and served on the ACC Global Board. Last year, this double Hoya returned to the DC area, and we are thrilled that he is now a member of ACC National Capital Region, and for him to speak today, in particular about his leadership of the Black General Counsel Initiative. The Black General Counsel Initiative was conceived in the summer of 2017 at the annual convention of the National Bar Association during the Corporate Counsel Institute, when Ernest gave a talk on the state of diversity in the in-house bar. He challenged the Black General Counsels in the audience to set an aggressive goal to increase the number of Black GCs, in particular, to increase the number of Black GCs in Fortune 1000 companies from 38 to 50 by 2020, and to 100 by 2025. April Miller Boyce, General Counsel of Eaton Corp, was in the audience and joined Ernest in this effort. Together, they founded the initiative. An advisory council was formed, comprised of about 20 prominent Black GCs of Fortune 1000 and equivalent companies, and they agreed to serve as the key advisors and owners of the initiative. Ernest and April continue to serve as co-leads of the initiative. Some of the initiative's key activities include tracking and publishing a list of the Fortune 1000 Black GCs, assembling and publishing a list of all Black GCs outside of the Fortune 1000, providing aspiring GCs with tools and information to assist them in their career progression, assisting executive recruiters and companies to find diverse talent when filling GC and other leadership legal roles, mentoring a cohort of Black legal leaders and giving them opportunities to network with and learn from prominent corporate leaders, recruiters, and peers to advance their career goals. The initiative currently has a cohort of 41 ready now Black GC candidates, many of whom are already GCs in and outside of the Fortune 1000. We are honored to have Ernest speak with us today about this initiative and more. Ernest, take it away.
Thank you, Veronique, for that kind introduction, and thank you to you and to Shannon and to all of the leaders of the National Capital Region chapter for inviting me to be the keynote speaker today and have a chance to talk about our initiative, the Black General Counsel 2025 initiative. I really appreciate this opportunity. I'll start off by saying I'm very happy to be a part of the National Capital Region chapter. This is my fourth ACC chapter. I've been in 4 different cities during my in-house time. I started my career here in DC at a law firm at Aaron Fox. And so I'm returning home, so to speak, to DC. But this is my first official time being a part of the National Capital Region chapter. I've been a member of the Delvaca, which is up in the Philly, Delaware area, Toronto, Ontario chapter, then Chicago up until last year, and now National Capital Region. So I'm very excited to be a part of yet another really strong and large chapter. And I look forward to getting to know more and more people as I return to the region. In line with this year's DEI theme of the DEI conference, Rising to the Challenge, I wanted to just take a moment and talk a bit about how the Black General Counsel initiative, which started off as an idea in this head of mine, and just a sort of a lark of an idea, how it was actually brought to fruition and turned into the idea that it is today. As you heard from my background, I've been in-house now for, I spent the first 10 years of my career as a law firm lawyer, and then in the past 16 or so years, I've been in-house in a variety of positions. And when I was at DuPont for 9 years, that was my first in-house role, it was DuPont. I took on a few different roles, and the last role I had was General Counsel of DuPont Canada. And so at that point, I started to really get to know a number of other general counsel in Canada, as well as in the US and in other countries as well, just through conferences and through sitting on panels. And while I had a small team and I was still sort of working my way up the leadership ladder, so to speak, I did rub elbows with a number of general counsel in the Fortune 500, Fortune 1000. I even sat on panels at that point and felt kind of out of place at first, until I realized, well, hey, this is the way you move up the ladder. This is the way you get to know people, is by getting invited sometimes to do things that may feel a little larger than what you're ready for, but it's the way you get ready. And in that vein, I had met a number of Black General Counsel, Ben Wilson, who is retiring soon, but is the managing partner of Beverage and Diamond. He created a number of networks, including bringing together Black managing partners, and then along with a number of Black General Counsel. And I was fortunate enough to kind of sit in those rooms in the beginning of the building of some of those networks. And as I was sitting there, I had this idea. I was like, man, there's so many great things we can do as a group with the Black General Counsel coming together the way they are. And one day when I'm one of them, when I'm a Fortune 500 GC, if I'm lucky enough to get there, one day when I'm one of them, I have these ideas. I'm gonna lead the group into doing these great things. And one of the things I wanted to do was to show them the roadmap, or create a roadmap for how we, as the Fortune 500 GCs, which I would hopefully be at that point, would create more. And by bringing our efforts together and combining our efforts and helping to create talent. And I just, and that brings me kind of to one of the main points I want to drive at here is, the right time for a lot of your great ideas that you have around diversity is now. None of us are diversity experts. I'm not a diversity expert. We're going to hear from some great diversity experts today, and people who have been in the game and in the fight and the struggle to create more diversity in our wonderful profession. But I'm not an expert in diversity, equity, inclusion. I've been engaged in different groups. And so in my head, I thought, you know what, when I'm in the right position, I'll bring this idea forward and I'll make it happen. And so I moved into my next sort of regional general counsel role as the General Counsel of the Americas at AkzoNobel, a big global European-based company. So I had a bigger team now, and I'm making my moves, And I still was thinking, one of these days we're gonna pull these folks together and I'm gonna be one of those leaders. And then in 2017, I was asked to do a quick talk, maybe about 15 minutes, about the state of diversity. I'm like, I resisted. I resisted it for a while. I said, what do I know about? I don't have any data. So they gave me a study, and the only data that we were aware of at that time that existed for the state of diversity in the profession, particularly for Black lawyers, was the General Counsel surveys that the MCCA, Minority Corporate Counsel Association, is doing each year. So I had the list, and I was looking at it, and it would tell me the number of women and minority GCs, and you could break them down into the different ethnic groups. And as I was reading this, the idea came back to me that this is one of the things you wanted to do, was you've wanted your community to set a goal and to bring together the top level GCs in our community, as many of them as possible, to create something that was going to help create more in the pipeline behind us. And a lot of effort was already happening. It wasn't as if people weren't working on these things. A lot of my mentors, including my first boss at DuPont, was one of the Black GCs. He was retired at that time, who was a mentor of mine, and people like him who were helping us make sure we learned, that I learned about different jobs that were available, that I understood what it took to get to the next level, that were introducing me to recruiters and other folks. And I said, yeah, this activity is happening through various organizations and one-off types of relationships with your mentors and mentees. And I said, but I think what needs to happen is the Black General Counsel, Fortune 500 as a group need to own this and drive it and shape it and form it so that it can be a collective benefit to the community. So, as I'm known to do, I shot off my mouth. I I spoke for the 15 minutes and spoke about the state of diversity and how the numbers had increased to a certain amount at that point. And I said, there's no reason to think that we can't quickly get to 5%, which we were at 38 at the time, 5% or 50 of the Fortune 1000. And then I said, let's set a really strong, aggressive goal as a community that we would get to 100, which is 10% by the year 2025, which at that time was about 8 years away, and now is a little over 4 years away. And we did reach the 50 number by 2020. When I say we, the community did, not necessarily taking credit for that through the initiative, but it certainly happened as a result of a lot of efforts. But what ended up happening was I gave that challenge, and in the audience was a few of our Fortune 1000, Fortune 500 General Counsel. And one of them, April Miller Boyce, who was mentioned in the introduction, she stepped up and tapped me on the shoulder at dinner. We'd met a few years earlier when she had her first GC gig. We bumped into each other somewhere and had a chance to meet. Hadn't seen each other in a while. And she says, I'll get involved with you. I said, great. And she's become a great friend and mentor of mine now that she runs the huge company's legal department at Eaton Corporation. And we sat down and just started thinking about what needed to happen. And just remember, even the idea that you have in your head that either sounds too small to you or an idea that you think, well, I don't really have the platform yet to bring this idea to fruition. Resist the urge to wait and just find ways to get into action. Don't feel like the action has to be something huge or something big. In fact, when we started out, we didn't even think we were going to do a cohort or have programming or get engaged with the people that we were going to identify talent, and we were going to identify recruiters that we could connect with to identify jobs and try to match them up and let the recruiters know about talent. And then as we were doing that, we said, we don't always know all the talent. And so let's put it out in an application process for people to self-identify as interested in being a general counsel. I've read the criteria that you all have put together. And when we put the criteria together, that was one of the first things we did. April had a criteria that she got from another GC. We reworked it a bit. Then we sent it out to the advisory council. And how did we get the advisory council? Well, I called a handful of Black General Counsel who I knew and sent emails to them, asking them to be advisory council. April knew a bunch and she sent notes to them. And then we just sent notes out to people who we just knew existed in the community, Terry McClure and Cornell Boggs and household names in the legal space who agreed to step up and sign up and be a part of our advisory council. Vita, who's the CEO of the ACC, she agreed to be a part of our advisory council as well. And, and we asked them to have input on the criteria, what it took. We also asked them, who are your mentees? Who are the people that you know of out there who are Black lawyers who are being groomed by you and others that ought to be reached out to see if they want to be a part of the cohort? And if nothing else, we can at least identify them as potential talent. And so it just started to create its own steam and own momentum. And I just wanted to just encourage all of you, when you have ideas, whatever they may be, whether it's something specific to your organization, because all of us, I just joined a new organization, and in all of the organizations I've been a part of, whenever we're hiring, we're thinking, well, how do we make sure we get a diverse slate of candidates? How do we make sure we get a diverse group of people to come in? How do we make sure we get diverse lawyers from our law firms engaged? And so every company is different, every environment's different. None of us are experts at this. The point is, we need all of the ideas and all of the effort and all of the engagement of every person in the profession as best we can to bring to bear on advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion. Just like we need all of us to bring to bear our efforts in making our profession more ethical and making our profession more to catch up with the times. It's not diversity, equity, and inclusion does not just belong to the experts. The experts are here to help us learn how to step our games up. But if we're not committed to diversity and committed to taking action, then we'll have a lot of great ideas rolling around in our head, like my idea for Black GC to come together and make more GCs in a systematic way collectively. It swam around in my head for probably 5 years. And, I might have mentioned it here or there, but I didn't say, let's get it done, because I didn't think I had the platform to do it. And by taking that moment that I was asked to speak, and giving out that charge, it is now, now we have a few dozen, more than a few dozen people, many of whom are peers of mine who are in either deputy level positions or regional general counsel positions. We also have in the cohort of the 41, we've got a good handful already. I think about at least 4 who are in Fortune 1000 GC positions now, maybe 5. And then we've got others who are in public company GC roles now, as well as large private company roles that they weren't in when they first joined the cohort and now have moved forward into those public and private roles. And so without, obviously many of them were on their road to that in any event, but I do hope and believe that the initiative has helped them to meet, board directors who came in to speak to us. And most importantly, recruiters. We have many recruiters who gave us input on the criteria and who gave us, who provide us with opportunities for that to be aware of what jobs are available. And let me just put a pause in for a second. As we're thinking about diversifying different levels of the profession and different areas of the profession, we've got to just keep in mind how do the various parts of our profession actually work when it comes to hiring, recruiting, retention, promotion inside of each of those various unique companies, as well as the different types of legal environments that we're in. And when I thought about the Black General Counsel initiative and making it to General Counsel, very rarefied air, if you will, not a huge percentage of our profession even gets there. There are major challenges because of the way that the things are structured. And as I was engaged in my own job search at different times, I learned, and all of you who've ever searched for executive level role have learned, that these GC roles and many times these deputy roles, they're not advertised. And so one of the biggest challenges for diversity is there's a lot of word of mouth, and the recruiters would go to a lot of GCs already sitting and ask them, are you interested? And if not, can you tell me about others? And that kind of led to the idea for the vision that I had, which is, well, if we could funnel those job opportunities that are coming to individual Black General Counsel and give them a place to send it when they don't have a mentee or someone on their network to send the job to, then we could actually create an opportunity for more Black lawyers to get access to that opportunity. But just as important, and even more important in some respects, was creating those relationships with various recruiters. And we're always engaged in discussions with different recruiters, and some of them are really good about sending us as many of the job listings as they have at their firm, and others, maybe it's a little more piecemeal or spotty, but as we learn about them, we make them available to the cohort, and then we have a LinkedIn group for our Black General Counsel and sitting GCs, and we circulate it among them from time to time as well to try to get as much traction going with making sure we have diversity within the pool. And so that brings me to that idea that even a small idea, let's say, someone just thought about how to create a funnel for learning about opportunities within a particular community, maybe a local diverse community or something, or even a national diverse community within a specialized area or whatever it might be. No idea is too small, no idea is too insignificant, because there's so much that it takes to bring about the advancement, especially at the senior levels, but even at the various levels below the senior levels, to get advancement and diversity in many of these spaces. And so I think what we need is for folks who are on the ground, who are thinking about things, whether it's inside of your own organization, when you're hiring and you're thinking about how do we get a diverse slate, well, think very practically. Think practically. If you don't know people of too many lawyers of various backgrounds that you could then reach out to say, are you interested in this job? Think about the groups and the organizations that exist locally and nationally. Shannon's got a list that she's going to share later on with the people in the conference, which has a long list of various diversity-based and related organizations. And I just call out to you the the bar associations of color, NAPABA, which is for Asian and Asia Pacific lawyers, Hispanic National Bar Association for Hispanic lawyers, and National Bar Association, and others that are for Black lawyers. And all of them have local chapters in all of our regions, and so including here in the National Capital Region. Reach out to them, reach out to individuals. It may seem trite, but you want to find lawyers of a certain background, ethnicity. You have some friends who are lawyers in those groups, ethnic groups. Reach out to them and say, how I want to make sure to include as broad of a slate as I can for this role or for these roles. Help me understand if you know of a way, or if you know of people who are connected within the community. It's not insulting to us if you come to us respectfully and ask us, to an LGBTQ lawyer or a racially diverse lawyer or a woman lawyer, and say, I can't find any women patent lawyers who do this, and that person will tell you, hey, there's an engineering group of, or there's a patent lawyer group, there's this, or they'll say, I know someone that knows people, and they'll put you in touch. Don't forsake those small connections. Don't forsake using your network to help build these things up. And most importantly, don't keep your idea to yourself. Share it with others around you and bring those ideas into action. All actions, we need all of the actions that you might think of today as you're listening to these experts speak. You may have had ideas from the past. Think about getting them into action today while you're in these sessions. Think about getting into action on whatever ideas or efforts you want to put into place. And whenever you attend any kind of diversity conference, or if you are just discussing diversity issues, think about bringing yourself into action. Because as I said to start, and I'll end here at the same place, all of us have to own diversity, equity, and inclusion as a worthy goal that we're all going to strive and work towards, as whether we're experts or not, and 99% of us are not going to be experts, but we can't wait to become experts in order to get into action. Think about the goal and think about possible solutions and steps towards reaching that goal, and do your best to get into action and bring your network, whether it's your boss or whether it's your peers, whether it's people outside of your organization, inside the various communities. Get into action, pull your ideas and your thoughts together, and you'll be amazed at what happens. I did not expect the articles and the news articles and the website that we built. I didn't expect any of that. I just thought it would be some stealth thing undercover. You're just doing some connecting people, and it turned into something that has been great. We need a refresh of it. We're looking at a 2.0 now, thinking about how do we really gear up for the second half of this, because it's very, very daring goal that we have. But nevertheless, it really just came about because this guy over here decided to shoot his mouth off about an idea I've been sitting on for years. And I think all of you here in the audience, there's some impact you can have, in big or small, in the diversity, equity, inclusion goal and efforts that we have as a collective community as lawyers. And I just want to thank the ACC National Capital Region again. This is a heck of a way to get introduced to my new chapter. I appreciate it, and look forward to hearing more throughout the day, and also engaging in more and more chapter events.